Hey guys, Flabberleaky here today, and we're going to continue on our redstone contraption building. Today I've got another special thing here for you today, and this contraption is going to be using an NOR Latch. So I'm going to show you how this can be used within redstone and creating something that's practical and useful. So we've got this little contraption here, and on the side it says cake, this one says cookies, this one says miso soup, which is also the mushroom soup, or stew, whatever it's called, and this one says bread. And then over here it says, give me food! So we select the one we want, and what you'll notice, if we hit this one, the light goes on, that one turns off, and the same with any one we press, so we can only have one selected at a time. So we're going to get some cookies, because I like cookies. I'm going to press give me food. Give me food! And we'll see that it will drop down, and it'll give me a cookie. Now, of course, you can use these buttons, you can label them for anything really. It doesn't have to be, because right now it's connected up to dispensers. You can connect these up to other things. You could use this in a minecart station to select different tracks. So this could be track 1, track 2, track 3. Earlier I was joking around with a friend and we made a death machine, so you select your mode of death and you click go, which is pretty fun. But anyways, there's multiple uses, but in this one I'm showing you how to connect it to dispensers. So what's happening, we'll go around the back and we'll have a look at some of the redstone. Now we've got a similar kind of color-coded layout like we did with our minecart station. Our yellow wool here is an NOR Latch. So you can see the NOR Latch here is right here, and it's pretty simple. We'll go over this obviously in detail. The whole red circuit here, everything that you see in red, are pulse limiters, which we've done in the previous episode, but we'll be doing a different design in this episode to make this work. Up here, the green wool here is actually an AND gate. This is an AND gate design that you probably haven't seen before, but of course we'll go over that before we get started. And the blue line is just connecting our give me food button to give us food. And that's how it works. So basically when you press a button, the NOR Latch is changed state. So that button is selected. So right now you can see this one is selected. This NOR Latch is on. As you can see, so the light is on and all the others are off. But what happens when we press another button as well? It's kind of hard to see and explain here, but the NOR Latch changes state and the pulse limiter comes around the back and resets all of the other NOR Latches. So that's how we can change which NOR Latch is selected and make sure that only one is selected at a time. Because if we didn't do the reset, then we could have multiple selected at the same time. Of course, in this case, it wouldn't actually matter if we had multiple selected, because we could select multiple food types and click go, give me food, which you could do, but I think it's cooler that you can only select one at a time. I think it's just really cool functionality, and I've spent a lot of time condensing down the redstone into such a small space, because if you can see this, each light and button has a 2 wide area where all the redstone goes, and you can see all of these fit together and next to each other really easily. So this means that you can put a whole heap of them, pretty much unlimited amount, in a row and keep going for as long as you want, and it'll all still work perfectly fine. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool function for it. So yeah, we're going to get started on that right now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have a look at is the NOR Latch design that we are using in this build. We already know this NOR Latch design right here. And this is this small little design one that goes around like this. And a quick recap for those of you who have forgotten what an NOR Latch is, it's a memory cell. So right now this is on, and it's going to stay like that until we change it. So we have our set button here, so we're going to set it, and it sets this input to 1, or on. And if we want to reset it, we're going to hit this side. So you can see it's just a memory cell that has a set and reset. But for the purposes of this build, this NOR Latch design is not the right size. It's too big. Even though it looks really small, it's still too big. I wanted a smaller design. So I went for a 1 block wide design that does the same thing. And remember, just keep in mind, I'm just going to build the bigger NOR Latch right now. Keep in mind that an NOR Latch is simply 2 torches that are attempting to turn each other off. As you can see right here. So we have 1 torch and the other. This one right now is turning off this torch, but if we turn off that one, this torch now turns off that one. So that's what an NOR Latch is. And so knowing that, we can build this NOR Latch right here. So we have our first torch that goes into a repeater, that goes into a block with redstone on top of it, that has another block coming above the repeater, and another torch on top of that. And redstone on top of that one. So now this torch here turns off this torch by going through the repeater into the redstone and back into this block, and that will turn off that torch. If we now change the state of it by setting it, this torch now turns off this torch by powering this redstone on top of it. And in this way we can set and reset the NOR Latch, and it's only one block wide. And this is the design we're going to be using in this build. The next thing we're going to have to know is how to build a 1 block wide vertical AND gate. Now, we've done an AND gate before, and that's this design right here. This is an AND gate. This is an ordinary AND gate that we would build, or that we have built before, wherein it requires both of the inputs to be on to enable the output to be on. So we require 2 inputs for 1 output. So that's how we build an ordinary AND gate, but we want to build a 1 block wide vertical AND gate. So the way we do that is like this. We're going to place a block here, another 2 blocks on top of that, remove the center one, place a torch on the bottom one, place a piece of redstone above, place a block next to that, and a torch on top of this one, and 1 torch here. So you can see, I'll just put it next to the normal one right here, and you'll see the resemblance as I explain it to you. So this is our ordinary one, and I'll finish off this one. So we have an input down the bottom here, and our other input is right up here in this block. So you can see our 2 torches. So we have 1 torch up here, 1 there, and in this one we have 1 here and 1 here. And these both power the same redstone block, which is right here. So they both power this piece of redstone. And you can see this torch is powering that redstone, and this torch is powering that redstone. So right there you can see it's the same thing. And off the side of the redstone we have another torch, which we have right here. So in that way you can see how that part is the same, it's just a different design. And you can see our 2 inputs, we have 1 here and 1 here. On this one we have 1 here and 1 up here. So just to demonstrate that it does work and it's not all hokey pokey and not some black magic going on, I'll just obviously show you how it works. So we'll have the output coming down here just so we can see it. And this is our 1 input right here, and we'll have the other input coming down the side, right down here, like this. And so we can power them both at the same time. So when we power both, actually I'll separate them, to be honest, it'll be better to demonstrate. So we can power this one here, and this won't turn on. We can power this one here and it won't turn on, but we require both inputs to be on, and you'll see it will turn on. So there you go, that's how we build a vertical AND gate. I'll just get rid of all the extra crap so you can see it again. This is how we build a vertical AND gate that's only 1 block wide. Right here. Beautiful. The last thing we have to look at is the pulse limiter. Now last episode we built one that looks like this, and it functions perfectly. So we're going to put a repeater in the back here. This is our input. Bring it down here. And then we have a piece of redstone underneath, a torch on the side, repeater down the bottom, block here, and a piece of redstone on the top. So this is the one we built last time, as you can see. If we and set that to 3, of course. When we put a torch here, we'll just have sound here so you can see. If you look at that redstone over there, it'll go off for 1 tick. So we built this one last time. The problem with this one is that the delay is not long enough. So we can set it to 4, which makes the pulse 2 ticks, but we actually need it to last longer for this build. And we can't do that with this design. It doesn't allow for us to extend it anymore. So we have to use a different design. It's also 1 block wide, but it allows for pretty much unlimited extension of the signal. So to build this one, we start by putting a block down, a torch on top, another block on top of that. We then put a block here, and we put a repeater down the bottom, set to 3, and just time set 0. And we put another block here, and then we have redstone coming down the top like this, and it comes off like this, and that's our thing right there. So if we now turn it on, you can see it goes off for 1 tick, and we put it onto 4, and it does 2 ticks. But now if we want it to make it last longer, which we do, all we have to do in this one is simply put more repeaters in this section right here. So we can have it as long as we want, and we just have to extend the top to meet up with it here. So then we just bring this all the way along, bring it down, and now we have a longer pulse limiter, as you can see. But of course, we're not going to use it that long. We only need 2 repeaters in the build we're going to be doing. So we're going to just put it here, and we have this coming down here, just like this. This is the length we're going to be using. And that should do it. That's all you need to know for this part. Okay, so now we can start putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. So I'm just going to come off the ground 2 blocks like this. This is where our floor is going to be. Obviously you don't have to use the same color scheme as me. It doesn't really matter what blocks you use, to be honest. This is just building for aesthetics. Of course you can change it to what you like. Right, then we have our wall coming up here at the back. So just as big as you want, really. Then we have another row here. This is where our buttons will go. So we'll put a button, we'll put one here, one here, one here, and one here. So we have 4 choices. And then these all have lights above them like this. Now we just fill them all in like this. And obviously finish off the room however you like, doesn't really matter. And then we have our button along this wall, our other button to call our food on this wall. You can really put the other button wherever you want, doesn't matter. It doesn't have a specific location, but I like to put it on this wall over here. So we're just going to chuck it there. Right, so this is our user interface. This is the part that the user will see. They won't see any of the redstone, so they do all this sort of stuff. And you'll see we already have lights that turn on, which is pretty cool. Now we're going to go around the back and start building the actual redstone circuitry. So the first thing we're going to build is the NOR Latch. So we're going to grab our yellow wool, because that's the color it is. Well, it's the color I chose anyways. And, sorry about that. And we're just going to start by putting a block coming out from where the button is. So 1 block below the button. And we're going to put redstone on top of that. Then we're going to have a torch coming out from there. And if we bring this across here and bring it down 1. We're then going to put a repeater there, which I don't have again. I'm a bit unorganized. Sorry, I've lost my yellow wool. Then, after the repeater, we're going to have a block at the back with a piece of redstone on it. Just like the one we've built before. Put the torch on top. And there we go. There's our NOR Latch. And that is the first section done. Now we can move on to the next bit. Now we move into our pulse repeater circuit. And that's going to start right down here. So we put 2 blocks here with some redstone on it. Put a torch on the side here. You can change this to red wool here as well. Put a piece of redstone here. And we need to put another block right here so it separates these 2 lines, because otherwise they join around and that's not what we want. So we want to put a block above that. You can do that really easily, by the way, if you don't know this. If you just right click on this redstone here, or place above it, so it'll separate them nice and easy for you. Then we're going to build our pulse repeater, which is going to go right here. So if you remember it, we're just going to build it over here. Just to show you again. This is how it's going to look. So we have it like this, and we have our 2 repeaters here, 1 on 4 and 1 on 1. Bring it down here, and this will be our pulse repeater like that. So we're going to build that, but over there. So we're going to do the same thing over here. So we put our block down, our torch, another block on top of that, a block here, another one here, 2 in here, 1 on 4 and 1 on 1, another block here, oh, not there, here. And we put our redstone here. Except we can't put a block here because it's going to start talking to that and it's going to go all wrong. So instead, just to combat that, instead of putting redstone on top, we're going to put a repeater, because that will mean that they don't join and have any conflict. So instead, we just put a repeater there. So we've now built our pulse repeater, a pulse limiter, and our NOR Latch right here. So the really great thing about this is that they're literally right next to each other with no gaps in between. So you're essentially not wasting any space at all. Now we can move into doing the reset, because at the moment we can set our NOR Latch. If I just remove this and put that back, we can set our NOR Latch, oh jeez, by hitting this button right here, and the light will stay on. So we've set our NOR Latch, but there's no way to reset it. So we've got to build the reset part of the circuit now. And we're going to do that with the red wool because it's part of the pulse limiter. The pulse limiter is part of the reset circuit. That's why we need it. So we put a block here above. So this redstone goes straight into it. We put a torch on top of that. And we put another block on top of that. The reason we're doing this is just so we can get the redstone to travel up vertically. As we've learned in the past, that doing stacking redstone blocks, torches and blocks together will allow us to send a signal up vertically. So that's what we're doing over here. We're just sending our signal vertically up to the top here, and then we just need to bring this redstone into this block here. So we're going to bring our red wool here, and we're going to bring it here, and just to prevent any sort of cross talking with that wire there, as you can see, we're going to put a repeater here. And I mean, of course we could do this if we just go like this right here. You can see that that works too. However, we don't want the signal from this coming back onto the reset circuit. So The repeater serves two functions here. It prevents the lines joining, and it only allows the signal to go one way. I don't know if I've actually explained this before, but repeaters only work in one direction. So it will work going this way, but any signal coming back this way, it won't go through. So that's a handy secondary feature of a repeater that we use in this circuit, as you can see right here. So it prevents that on circuit coming back and feeding into the reset. Oh, sorry, I just put that block there. So we've now actually completely built our first circuit right now. Obviously, we're going to press this button. It's not going to reset because the reset only happens when there are more buttons, which obviously there aren't any more right now. But we can just build the same thing now, all next to each other, and there's not going to be any gaps. So it actually gets pretty compact when you start building more and more, and it can be kind of confusing to see how it all works together. But that's what we're going to start doing right now, and we can see how you can build it up and how easy it is. Okay, so we're going to start on our second one here now. We're going to build our RS NOR latch first, just like we did last time. So I'm just going to place all the blocks first, just like this, and then we can cut out the ones we don't need, just like that. So we put our redstone on the top here, a torch on the side, torch on the top, repeater going in here, and redstone on the back. Oh, not a torch, redstone wire on the back. And there's our RS NOR latch, already done. Simple, super easy. Now this is where it gets a bit squishy, and it's kind of hard to do sometimes, especially if you're doing this underground. It becomes really kind of compact and hard to work with. Now we're going to do our pulse limiter. So directly below this torch here and below that repeater, we put 2 there and then 2 in the ground. Put our redstone on here, torch on the side, piece of redstone here, and don't forget to put your block above. As you just saw there, it kept flicking backwards and forwards. To prevent that, you can just place your block first to prevent that happening. So remember, you got to put the block above, otherwise it's not going to work. So just do that first, I would recommend, just like that. And now we build the actual pulse limiter. So we do that in here by placing a block, a torch, a block on top of that, a block in front of that, 2 repeaters, one on 4, the other one on 1, another block there, oh, 1 block here, redstone along the top, but a repeater coming out of there, so a repeater coming out of that, redstone coming down, and then we carry our signal up vertically by putting a torch, having the redstone going into a block with a torch on, bringing it up the top, putting our redstone up here, and then we're just going to connect it back to this RS NOR latch right here. And then we've built our second one already. Just like that. And now we can actually see them go back and forwards. But if you end up with 2 on, it's not going to work. So just turn 1 off by removing the redstone here and put it back, and that will turn 1 off. And now if we turn this one on, we'll see that one go off. And we turn this one on, we'll see that one go off. Now we just have to build 2 more, and I'll once again go through it in real time and explain it again. So I think doing them over and over, obviously practice makes perfect. So the more you do it, the more it's going to help. So I think the more times I show you how to do it, it's also going to help. And then when you start building it yourself, it should hopefully be sunk into your brain and working. So we've got our RS NOR latch here, the same design we've been doing. So we have a block coming out of our button, redstone on top, torch feeding into the repeater, which goes into the block, which goes up, back into this block, and back around again. Now we do our pulse limiter circuit. So we have 2 blocks below. This gets power. I don't know if I actually explained this before, but the redstone below here gets power from the torch here. So it sends the power down here as well as along there, which is how this all works. Then we put our torch on the side here. Time set of 0, just to make sure it's day. 2 blocks down here. And don't forget to put your block above first. Redstone going into that block there. Then we build our pulse limiter with a block. Torch on top. Another block on top of that. 1 block here. And we have our 2 repeaters. 1 on 4. The other one on 1. Another block on top. 1 block at the end. Repeater coming out of this block here. Then redstone down both ways. And then we carry our signal vertically via torches. Like this. Put our redstone on the top. Connect it to our RS NOR latch. And we are Sweetos Burritos on the 3rd button. There you go. There's our 3rd one already in place. So now if we select the first one, it should clear those 2. And if we select our 3rd one, clears the first, select the 2nd, clears the 3rd, so on and so forth. So now these are fully functioning buttons, which is super awesome. Now we're going to move on to the last one more time. So we're going to build our RS NOR latch. We're going to place all the blocks first and cut out the center. So put our redstone on top, coming out just below the light. A torch on the side of that block. Repeater. Redstone on the back. Torch on the front. And there we got our RS NOR latch. Now we go down below and start building the pulse limiter circuit. So we have our 2 blocks here. Redstone. Torch on the side. Red wool down the bottom. Red wool block above to prevent any sort of cross-talking between the wires. Redstone right there. Build our pulse limiter, putting a block down. Torch on the top. Block on top of that. Block in front of that. 2 repeaters, 1 on 4, 1 on 1. Redstone, not redstone, wool above that. Block there. Repeater coming out of this block. Redstone coming down. Carry our signal vertically with torches. All the way up. Redstone on top of that. And just connect it to our RS NOR latch. Just like this. And now we have 4 fully functioning buttons that all work and do what they should do. So you can see they already work. Perfect. So that was pretty quick, eh? It doesn't take long. Once you know the first one, it's really easy to just stack them side by side and there's no problem. One thing I should note is that right now, this circuit doesn't actually have infinite repeatability. Because if you have a look at this circuit up the back here, there's no repeaters in it. So if you keep going, eventually, when this redstone wire exceeds 15 blocks, the first torch won't turn off the last one. But you can actually just fix that by putting in a few repeaters. But you can't just put them in like this, because remember, like I said before, repeaters only go one way. So if we have a torch here, they won't go back that way. So we actually have to do a little extension coming off the back here for it to work. So we're going to have a repeater here. And actually, no, we'll put redstone here. And we'll have it come round. Just a little loop to sort of extend the signal so that we don't have any loss in distance. I know it seems a bit weird having it looking like this, but you can also put one there if you really want. But this just will extend the signal an extra 15 blocks, because as long as it hits here, after this one, it will go for another 15. So if you find yourself, if you're doing heaps and heaps of buttons and you find it running out of power, just put a few of these little simple loops in. It takes a bit more space, but it will work and carry on the signal. But for us, we don't need that because it's not that big. Right, so we've now done all of our RS NOR latches and resets and all that sort of stuff. Really all the complicated stuff. So now we can actually move on to doing the dispensers and the AND gates up the top. Okay, so right now we're just going to build a roof so we can put our dispensers up here. And actually have some functionality. So we'll just build a quick roof. It doesn't have to be fancy or anything marvelous, because it doesn't matter right now. We can do that later. So let's fill in the roof right here. Like so. Oh, bring that in. And we'll just choose where you want your dispensers. I put mine in the center, so I'm just going to make a 2 wide gap here. Should probably put floor below that. That would also help, so that it doesn't just fall onto the ground. Just goes into the room. Sometimes I'm just awful at trying to place blocks. I swear, they just go all over the place. But that's okay. Oh, jeez, I did it again. Right, that should do. So we'll have our items drop down here into the middle of the room. So now we're just going to place our dispensers so we know where they are. We're not going to do anything with them just yet. So we'll just grab our dispenser and we'll put 3 here and the other one just over here. Just, I don't know. It works like that. Right, anyways. So to be able to activate these, we need to get the signal from our RS NOR latch, because we've got our lights turning on, but the lights are no use if they don't actually mean anything. Okay, now we can move on to doing our AND gates. And if you remember from before, they looked something like this. We have a torch on the bottom, torch on the top, redstone here, and torch on the side. So this is what we're going to be building, but on the top. Right, so right here I've already done this. I'm just going to remove these because I didn't show that before, I don't think. But to carry our signal vertically from each of the RS NOR latches, we're just going to place a torch on the top like you just saw before. And what you'll notice is that the one that's activated has a torch that's on, which is extremely useful. And now we can build our AND gate. So we put a block on top of each of these torches. And then another torch on top of those. Oh, not on the side, on the top. And then we put another block on top of that, and we just build the rest of the AND gate like we've seen before. Just like this. We have a torch on the back of each, oh, not on the side, on the back here. Redstone here on each of these. and a torch on the front. What you'll notice is they're all off right now because you remember AND gates require 2 inputs to be on for it to work. So we need to do that, obviously. And to do that, we're going to use this button to be the other input. So when we click that, we want our food to fall down. So we're going to connect this now. We're going to use our blue wool for this circuit. And what we're going to do, we're going to have a torch coming out the back of the button. So we'll just remove this so we can see. Here's our button. We're going to put a torch on the back, blue wool above that, torch on the top of that, and some more blue wool right here. Then we're just going to bring this around the back, not down there. Bring it around the back. Bring it one further back here, like this, just all the way along. And we just join them in like this to each of the AND gates. Then we grab our signal from here. And to make sure that it doesn't run out of power, we're just going to put a few repeaters in. I like to put an excessive amount of repeaters just so it looks the same and looks symmetrical, I guess. Well, not symmetrical, it looks identical on each. And it also means the signal won't run out. So I've just put a repeater before each AND gate here. So you can see one before each and one going into each of the AND gates. So now what's going to happen is if... We're not going to be able to see it very well, actually. Maybe we can... We've got the second one here activated and it's on. So when I press this button down here, if we go up, we'll see that torch went on. So that's perfect. That's working. Now all we have to do, the last thing we have to do is just connect it to our dispensers. So I'm just going to finish the bit of... Oh, that's not roofing. Finish the bit of the roof here just so we can get all the redstone wires in. So in the case that we're using dispensers, that we are, we're just going to get our signal to come across. I'm just going to use some more green wool to finish it off. Put one on each of these spots right here. Just to carry it across. And we're going to have this, we're going to do this one first. Just bring this line all the way around the back here into this dispenser there. Easy. Then we're going to do this one here. So we bring it in. We're going to use 2 repeaters, and I'll explain why very shortly. Then we bring this line in, and we're going to bring it around here. I put that in the wrong spot, actually. That needs to be there, like that. Sorry. That's how we do that. And then we do the last one over here, bring this in around here to that dispenser there. And that should do it. So now each of these activate a different dispenser when the button is pressed. So to demonstrate this, we'll put a different colored wool in each. We'll put red in this one. We'll put blue in this one, green in this one, and we're going to need another color. We'll get some yellow and put it in this one. So our first button is going to be yellow. So if we press on our first one, then press our button here, we should see yellow wool drop down, and there it is. Perfect. So if we put that back up in here now, our second one, which is going to be blue, or cyan technically. So if we press this button here, we should see our blue wool drop out. There it is. And just so on and so forth. I'm just testing them all now just to double check that they all work. Our next one is red, and then our last one is going to be green. So this one here is red. So we press that for red, and we get our red wool. And finally, we press it for green, get our green wool out. There it is. So it works perfectly now, and the whole thing is done. Okay, so here we are back at our final one, the one that I showed at the beginning, the finished product, and this is what it looks like. So this tutorial has shown you what an NOR latch is capable of. And the pulse limiter once again, and an AND gate as well is used in here. So this shows you how you can use more of the logic gates together to create a circuit. And you can see it all in here. Like, I mean, to be honest, even looking at this, I'm confused. If I hadn't built this myself, I wouldn't know what the hell was going on. So I think I've done my best to try and explain it to you. And I think the color coding also kind of helps with that. So if we have a look, the yellow here is our NOR latch. The red, this section right here, this part here is our pulse limiter. A green is our AND gate. And our blue is just our connector from our button down over there. But, I mean, in all honesty, when you've just built one section without all the others combined, when you just have one, it's actually really simple how it works. And I think that's good. I'm just gonna... Is it going nighttime? Yeah, I have to keep doing that. So, I think also this circuit is a good demonstration of how compact you can actually make redstone as well. Like, if you lay it out all right. Because we used repeaters in a few places just so that this circuit would work. And we've also used this block here to separate these redstone lines to make sure that they're nice and close together. Without those few little like tips and tricks that I've shown you with the repeaters and the blocks, you couldn't have the circuit this small together and this close together. And a lot of circuits won't go this small, but this one happened to work really nicely and compressing it and fitting it down into this size. But there is quite a bit of space missing here, like a wasted space, but that's okay. I mean, it fits in a pretty small room anyways. Like it's really not that big out the back, and out the front is fairly decent size as well. So hopefully this tutorial has shown you a use for the NOR Latch and the AND gate, and really collated some of the things that we've learned in previous episodes. And keep in mind that this circuit here doesn't have to be used for dispensers. You can use it for switching minecart tracks. So yeah, like I said at the very beginning, this can be track 1, this can be track 2. All you have to do to make that work is simply change where these outputs go to. So you just have to change this one. And I'd suggest if you're going to do a track that you don't use this button here, because this button would be kind of useless for a track. And if you want to make a track with this, just get rid of this button here, and you don't actually need the AND gates anymore. So if I was going to make a track, you just get the output from this torch here, and get rid of all the top stuff. Get rid of the green and blue wool. You don't need that part. Just go from the yellow and connect it to your track switches. So that's how you'd use it for that. And I was really pleased when I made this circuit for the buttons, because some of the other designs I've seen like this actually require a secondary reset button to reset all the button settings here. But these are self-resetting, and it's actually really useful in certain circumstances, and it can be really good. So anyways guys, I'm Flabberleaky, and I hope this tutorial has helped you out. And if it hasn't, tell me in the description. No, I always said that last time. Tell me in the comments why it hasn't helped you, what you need help with, what you'd like to see, and anything else that you need to know. Until then guys, I'm Flabberleaky, and thanks for watching.